but how much time till we fall? It's awfully chilly outside, when there's no shelter to hide, when everything is a lie. You'll find that out in some time, but when the things on your mind are all considered a crime, communication aside, we'll all just fight till we die. Is this an argument, or just the start of it? Either way, I don't wanna be a part of it. Can I just get some space? I don't have the heart for this. I can't be picking up the pieces, fixing scars from this. Is this an argument, or just the start of it? I wanna drive away so I can be so far.
My name is Samuel Leumas. Basically, that's my stage name. My name, my birth name is actually Okolo Samuel Ikenna, but when I started writing poetry, I don't know, I just have to figure out that I must look for a beautiful brand name, and I think Samuel Leumas Buladonis has been that name that came as an inspiration to me. Well, a lot of people ask me, what's the meaning of Blue Adonis? And for me, I think blue, I'm handsome, and the blue is my best color. So, and I believe blue represents love. So I feel like, because I believe in love, and blue represents love, so I have to call myself Blue Adonis, which is an handsome young man that believes in love. So that is where the name comes from, Blue Adonis. And I was born in a family of 5. I'm supposed to be the third guy in the family, but I lost a sister, so automatically I replaced her and I became the second. So I'm in a family of 5 where 2 siblings and 5 siblings, 2 girls and 3 boys. I'm the first son. So in Igbo family, I'm the Okpara. So my birth was kind of significant to my mom because I had to stay 12 months in my mom's belly. And my mom, even the doctor advised my mom to abort me because I was causing trouble. But my mom was like, I think she believes in me and she believes in my destiny. So she just like said, anything that happens to me must happen to her. So if I'm to survive, she must survive with me. If I'm to die, she will die with me. And that is where I think that action made me a believer of love. So my mom experienced a difficulty in my childbirth. So for me to stay 12 months and actually made it means that there's something extraordinary that I need to do here. And that is why I believe in love. So, and that is also the connection between the Blue Adonis, and that's why I don't change my name, and it has been going with me. So I have my primary education. Actually, I attended the public school. Attended Ozi Military Primary School at Yaba. Then my secondary education was a little bit high school. Significantly, I think I enjoyed my secondary school life. So my secondary school life shaped me. A lot of people say I'm free, I'm understanding, I love to laugh a lot. Because the kind of friends I met in secondary school, especially my SS2, I think those were my formative years where I learned that life is all about laughter, love, friendship, and companionship. And that is why I think I believe in love. And this thing actually influenced my way of life, how I deal with people. Basically, my life is surrounded around love. So everything I do, I think about love first. Even in my poetry, in my write-up, my religion, I tend to think about love. Because from the beginning, it was love that took me here. It was love. My mom showed me the first love and made me to understand that, okay, sacrifice is very key. So if my mom had aborted me on the first day, like of the first month of my life, I wouldn't be here doing this. I wouldn't be here telling you of this story. So basically, my mom introduced love to me by saying, I can't abort you. I'd rather die with you. So I understand the meaning of sacrifice and love. And this is the foundation of my philosophy in life. So anything I read, anything I do, I think about love, basically. So that is it. And my childhood experience was quite funny, beautiful, and nice. I would say the beauty of my childhood experience is I had the best friend, or I had the best friend, and the boy is my best friend, which is my younger brother Simon. And that is where I learned that I think I'll be a writer, or I don't believe that I'll be a writer, because I usually tell my younger brother stories. I will just stay with him. He tell me a story, and I will phantom story, I will imagine story, and I tell him. And I think this thing have influenced my way of life. So basically, I started my creative journey with my family. My dad is a man of God. My late dad actually, a man of God. So I was trained strictly following the tenet of the Bible, biblical tenet, morality, and every other thing. So along the line, this influenced my way of life. So my dad is a disciplinarian. So, but as a young man, the first thing I got to know first was discipline before love. And this actually affected the way I see God too. Because I always see God from the aspect of a disciplinarian before love. And it affected the way I see life. But who I am today, I cannot remove my dad's influence. First of all, he started as a disciplinarian. Secondly, he started opening my eyes to books, to philosophy. I even remember in my primary 4, when he came home one day and he was like, I'm in primary 4 and I can't read. I was kind of surprised. Then he started taking me on how to read. He wrote some things on the wall, like farm, come, bat. And I think that is where the enthusiasm to read and to be creative come from. I started reading from the age of primary 4, and then my dad introduced me to newspaper, then to a lot of history. But my dad told me something when I was growing up. He said he believed that I would be very, very intelligent because I usually asked him a series of funny questions as a young man. Sometimes I remember asking him like, why is when we throw things up to come down? And he would just tell me, oh, that's gravitational force. I would say, what is gravitational force? He said, okay, I can't explain all these things now. But according to his explanation, he said there is a magnet underneath the ground, whereby the magnet attracts everything you throw up. And I asked a lot of questions. Sometimes when I ask a question, my mom will like, shut up. Like, did they ask him that, okay, children, where did they come out from? My mom was like, shut up, what are you asking all these questions for? And I realized that, okay, my dad said because of those questions I was asking him, he so much believes in me. He told me basically, because in my SS2, I failed. And he told me that, my son, I know you are very intelligent. I know. Because I knew how you are enthusiastic about life. You are enthusiastic about knowing things. And this aspect of my family life really influenced me. My dad actually introduced me to politics. I remember those days I would be talking about Nigerian politics and I would be like, Dad, why can't we get things right in this country? Why is there power issues? Why is this political issues? And my dad was like, okay, let me tell you my story. This is it. I remember my dad telling me the Biafra story first after my primary 4 teacher made jest of the Igbos in class. And I came home, I was angry. I said, Dad, what happened? Biafra, what happened? And he was like, don't mind your teacher. Your teacher is a silly man. Then he introduced me to books about Biafra. And I said, when I started reading books, from there he introduced me to newspapers. And I think this affected my intellectual growth. Because as for my formative years, my dad did a great job. So I won't take, so my childhood was basically church, dad, and discipline. So my dad took time to make sure that I know things. That is the foundation of who I am today. When you see me talk about spirituality, talk about philosophy, talk about politics, talk about mystery, all this comes from the knowledge, the introduction from my dad, basically. Then my mom played a disciplinary role, and because we have my dad, okay, when I was growing up, I was not that close to my mom, but I think I had one day like that, I had an issue with my mom, and my dad had to like call me and say, hey, let me tell you a story. That is why my dad's influence in my life is kind of symbolic and significant. He said, let me tell you a story, that this your mom actually gave up her life for you to come to life. Like she actually said to the doctor that I wanted you to be aborted, that she will die with me or survive with me. So if I think my mom hates me, I'm confused. That this woman loves me more than anything. So you see why I always mention my dad, because my dad made me to understand a lot of things I don't even understand. My dad actually made me understand life, made me understand the way I see things. So basically, that is just my childhood. Then I had brothers, siblings that have they so much believes in me, even beyond our understanding. Like my brother Simon, who has been there. Like Simon is the first person that told me that I can do poetry, I can go for it because he believes in me. My dad actually, the first time my dad saw me writing, my dad said, writers are poor. So I was kind of, it really affected me, but because I was stubborn, I just said, okay, I must be a writer. But being a writer, I wanted to even read, when I was applying for my exam, I wanted to read journalism or creative writing. But because I've not been to Enugu, I was born in Lagos, and my political culture orientation was basically Lagos metropolitan culture. So I needed to even understand my tribesmen, understand Igbo, understand these things. So because of that, I had to go to Enugu to study. And seriously, when I went to Enugu, I experienced cultural shock. A lot of people don't believe that I'm actually Igbo, because the cultural shock I experienced in Enugu actually made me deny my people. I denied my tribe, denied Igbo people. I just basically want to be a Lagosian. But because my dad also played a rude role there, trying to make me, my dad gave me a lot of romantic aspect of being Igbo, even when I don't even know that I'm Igbo. So going to Enugu also shaped the way I see life. Going to school in Enugu, which is also influenced by my dad. But what the beauty of my dad doesn't force you to do anything. He will only influence you, introduce you to these things and say, okay, look, this is like this. You need to know your people. You need to understand your people. And that is how I went to Enugu. And my life in Enugu actually boosted my personality too, because that is where I was able to harness my behavior as an Igbo man, the bravery, the business acumen, and the confidence. That is where I was able to get that the Igbo confidence. While as a Lagosian, I understand humility. I understood respect. Looking at my Nigerian culture in Lagos, influenced the way I lived my life. I understood respect, I understood love, and understood care. So now I understood all these things. So my dad actually played my dad actually played a good role in influencing my life. My dad played a father figure, a thorough father figure. Like I feel now I understood the importance of having a mother and a father at home. When my father couldn't be there, my mom is always there. When my mom is not there, my dad is always there. So I think the combination was just perfect, and influenced the way I see life. The lessons from my mom, the teachings from my dad really influence the person you are seeing as a poet. Like the poet, the Samuel Leumas, the lover, the one that cares, the one that tries to make people laugh, the one that loves. You see that personality in me. It's an influence, it's home. Home played a huge role. As in, you can't take it out. Home played a huge role in my life. And that is why most time when I write about home, family, I talk about this family with so much passion. Especially after I lost my dad. I started, the whole lesson started unveiling the importance of my dad. And I actually told myself that because of my dad, I want to be the best kind of human. I actually even wanted to be a saint, like a perfectionist. I wanted to be perfect. But I later realized that no one can be perfect. But because of that, I started to pursue excellence to the core. And my core value after my experience as a child is, my core value is love, integrity, and happiness. Because I spent so much time being sad. Basically, my school life, the 5 years, I spent before going for service shaped my life like completely. I basically led me, like I would call it a pilgrimage. I went on a pilgrimage where I went through a lot of religion, trying to understand my life. I studied Islam, studied Buddhism, studied Hinduism. I studied Islamism. I studied Islam and I studied Islamism. Islamism is the politics of Islam. Then Islam is the lifestyle of a Muslim. I studied both these two philosophy. One is a social cultural religious culture, while one is political culture. Islamism is a political culture, while Islam is a. So I studied these things, trying to understand my life, and this became a journey whereby I started understanding a lot of things. And do you know where I landed in? I landed in knowing that love is the answer to everything. Like sometimes when I read books, sometimes I say, okay, this prophet or philosophers made a mistake here. Why will you say this? Why will you say this? Because I started using love as a yardstick to qualify what I do. I started using love to do as so. Love started to become my value after going through the journey. But within that time, my poetry it expanded. My poetry made me like poetry because I was reading a lot. Poetry was the best way I can speak out my life, my philosophy, my ideas, even my confusion. You see it in my philosophy, my poetry. Everything was just poetry became like I tell people that poetry became the solar energy of my life. Where God created poetry, like as God created the sun to light up the world. God created poetry as my own sun to light up my life. So there was God, there was poetry, and every other thing around me. So poetry was just like me surviving. Poetry was like me living. So most times I was not even doing poetry for money anymore. I was just doing poetry for the love, for the joy, for the peace that comes with poetry. But I was able to achieve this within this 5 years period. Sometimes I ask myself, is it sadness that inspired me or depression or this? But I just realized that journey itself was planned out by God, so that I will find myself. Like what Socrates say, a philosopher I read in school, Socrates say, man, know thyself. And I think poetry was that period was me discovering poetry for me to understand myself. So, poetry. Basically, when did I start writing poem? I started writing in 2007. Okay, what inspired me? I was in a class. I was in my success point. I attended success point for my jam class. So our literature teacher, his nicknamed DMX. Asked everyone to write an assignment of poetry. I didn't even write anything on the assignment. I didn't even write the assignment. But the day was calling results. He brought out top 10 poems and he was reading it out. And I was like, no. And he brought out 3 ladies' poems, and it was like one was writing about love, one was writing about erotic. And this guy, after reading it out, I just told myself, I could have done this thing now. And that was it. And I started writing poetry from there. No, basically I've been writing stories, animation, short stories with my younger brother, telling those stories to my younger brothers. But when I just found this poetry, I don't know. I became enthusiastic about writing. So I started writing. Like I even remember the first poem I wrote was on politics. And I showed my friend Daniel Bassi. I showed Daniel Bassi and I showed Fumilayo. The Fumilayo was like saying, oh, you are trying. And then the guy said, wow, you can write like this. I wish I can write like you. And I felt like I'm a poet already. I started writing. But do you know that because those guys said those motivating lines actually kept me writing. Although from the assignment DMS gave in class that year, 2007, it ignited me. Then the little appreciation I got from Fumilayo and Dani Basi did the magic, and I've been writing from there. And at first, I started writing about morality, about my lifestyle, about God, how to be. I'm actually a moralist, so I would write about morality. Then in 2012, after I lost my first collection due to robbery, I changed to depression. I was writing sad poems. So in 2012, I said, no, I can't be doing this thing because the sad poem is affecting my life. I'm depressed and I'm writing sad poems, so it's not helping me. So I needed redemption. So in 2012, I deliberately decided to start writing about love. And I think that's just like, this is my philosophy, and I started writing about it, and it started becoming like love poems started becoming the light which I walk through, become the star through which I see ahead. So that was I started writing. But my influence in poetry was Enya. I listened to Enya's music, and it influenced my poetry. The way she writes, simple words, depth, simple with depth, simplicity with depth. I was like, how can this lady write songs like this? And you see the depth in it, the beauty. And I kind of asked myself, wow. And I told myself, okay, I want to be writing like her. I want to write one line and it has deep, like a simple line, and someone will find meaning in it. It will influence people, and that is where I started writing my poetry. And that's my beginning, the starting point of my, like the beginning of the influence of my influence. My influence is actually Enya, but something happened to my poetry in 2014. When I was in 2014, I was in Enugu all through. So I was seeing Agarahu's work, I was doing Vikadek's work, I was seeing a lot of people's work. I was seeing KIS, and then KIS started this WRR, Word, Rhymes and Reading. So I was just there telling KIS about it, and KIS told me, Samuel Leumas, you have to come out for people to know you. You can't just be writing on Facebook and we don't know you. Do you know that this line actually motivated me? And I because of this line I came out. And the first event I attended as a poet was Eco Literary Slam, where I saw all these ladies named Chemistry, For Words and others. Then after Eco Poetry Slam of 2014, I attended War of Words of 2014, where the one for word won. Eco Poetry Slam was won by Chemistry, while for word won the War of Words of 2014. There and right there, I came in contact with spoken word, because literally I went to school doing poetry. Even a lot of people in school never knew that I was studying political science, because I was always writing poems. When you come to my house, you see poems scattered all over my room. You see different sheets with different poems. But so this is where I met spoken word poetry, and it was beautiful. Then I was encouraged by people like Chemistry to start writing spoken word, to start doing performance poetry, which is literally spoken word. And the experience was beautiful. There I met Ariata, whose pain really was making wave that year. And I met Graciano, I met KIS, then I attended BB Naija in Ibadan. So that was like the bang I was looking for in poetry. And I started performing, I started meeting poets. I remember that year was within the year I was looking for how to go for my service. So poetry was like the only thing I'm doing to live, like, was my inspiration, motivation, sustaining my life, sustaining my mental health and everything. So I put everything into poetry. I traveled wild. Because of poetry, I went to Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Gumosho. I even went to this place. I even went to Ife. I travel to an extent. A lot of people were asking me, where did I get this money to travel? But it was just that the passion itself was so beautiful. Like the passion, meeting people that have same passion, like Agarau, like James Konko, like KIS, like Creativity Cadex, and it was just beautiful, and it became like a paradise for me. And I started believing that with poetry I can do wonders, I can do miracles. Like the next time I started writing that tomorrow is paradise. That's where my like that line, tomorrow is paradise, start coming out from. Whereby I start believing in the future, my future in poetry. And one of my best poems was for Biafra in 2016. That poem, I won this remembering home, top quality remembering home with that poem, and it was like the band. People were adding me on Facebook. People that I was like, even then the pin president then Abdullahi added me after that poetry. I was like, wow, the audience I was getting, and a lot of people were commenting on my poetry where they said, my fan base increased. A lot of people are saying they love the way I write. Some said some people mentioned the depth, some people mentioned the love words, some people mentioned the inspiration. A lot of people have different reasons for connecting to my poetry. But the people that I really connected to are those people that talk about the depth and the love they got. And I remember how a lot of people come to my inbox and tell me, oh, thank you for that poem. It really influenced me. This poem. And I asked them, why did they love this poetry? They said the way I write, that I write simply and it touches their heart, like it touches their soul. And exactly that's the purpose of me writing. And someone recently even told me that my work, they feel my personality in my poetry, which is the reason I'm even actually writing, to tell the world my poem, to tell you about my life, to tell you about my suffering, to tell you about my pain. No, but we cannot talk about my poetry, not talking about people like KIS, not talking about people like Eriata, then beautiful Amunadi. Like my poetry took a different dimension when I met Amunadi. Like Amunadi really, I don't know, like this miracle, like there's this joy I felt meeting Amunadi, because actually when I first of all came in contact with Amunadi, so then when I met Amunadi, I think my motivation, my confidence was something else. Now let me tell you the beauty of my meeting with Amunadi. Now this is what happened. I actually came in contact with Amunadi's poem in 2013 in Enugu, where a friend came with the book, and I saw his poetry. And you know what I achieved? I was like, this is actually what I am looking for in poetry. Like, sometimes when you are writing poem or when you are reading a poem, there's something you are actually searching for in the poem that connects to your personality, your existentialism. Understand? And I think Amunadi's poem was just that thing. I believe in love. Yes, I do write love poems, but I have not seen the person that writes what I am looking for in poetry. Like Enya in music was actually what I'm looking for. Enya music was actually what I was looking for. But when I saw Amunadi's poem, I said, yes, as Enya is to me in music, that is what Amunadi's poetry is to me in poetry. And I was like, wow, this is another, I'll call it another heaven. But now the beauty of my connection with Amunadi was this. There was something I came up on in 2016, and my philosophy played out, which is love everybody the way you love yourself and never judge. So when the issue came out, a lot of it went viral. A lot of people were talking shit, and I came online and I wrote a poem, and I wrote something on my page But what the thing was actually saying is that I was like putting myself in the man's shoes, and I said, who has, who has not yet sinned? Let him cast the first stone, first of all. Secondly, so now, after um, like when the whole world is judging someone, it reminds me of the story of Jesus. He who has not yet sinned, let it cast the first stone. Understand? And I placed myself in that shoe and I told myself, hey, Samuel, this is who are you? I said I believe in love. Does love condemn? No, love doesn't condemn. Love corrects, but doesn't condemn. And love comforts. So the only thing I just look at it is this man is going to, and this is one of my heroes in poetry. Like somebody I love so much. I love his poetry. And like this time is the kind of issue I just have to understand this. And I just stood with him, just following the rule of law. And eventually I think I stood right. And I met him. Because of this poetry, I met him. Because of this issue, I met him. And me meeting Amunade actually gave me another perspective in poetry. Like meeting him alone gave me another perspective. And me meeting Amunade changed my perspective in poetry. Like there's something that comes with his personality that influences poetry. I can't explain it. I can only say it like it's just like a mirror. I cannot talk about my poetry without talking about Graciano, Amunade, and Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt is one beautiful place where I influence my poetry. Even to an extent, I remember calling Port Harcourt Poet Harcourt. So my poetry took shape in 3 cities: Ibadan, Port Harcourt, and Lagos. But if you ask me, where is my sanctuary? Enugu is my sanctuary, my poetry sanctuary. But Port Harcourt is my heaven. Like I'm even thinking of relocating to Port Harcourt because of the love I got in Port Harcourt through poetry. So Amunade changed my perspective of poetry, and I started believing in myself because Amunade was like a fantasy that come true. I when I read his poem in 2014, I told myself, I wish I can meet this man, and I met him in 2015. Then 2016, 2017, I was in the office, and it has been a beautiful journey in poetry. And that is Amunade's part of my poetry. They will talk about Graciano, who has been Graciano has been highly supportive. Graciano has been a brother, has been supportive, has been loving, has been motivating. But Graciano has just been that poet. Like sometimes when you want to give up on your writing career, there's some people when you think about them, you say I can't give up because of what they have done for you. Graciano and Amunade are the 2 people that I look up to. I won't forget the role of KIS, who told me the magic word, hey, come out. You cannot just be in fear of the right there, you cannot see. And I remember Graciano editing most of my earliest poetry. So KIS, editing most of my earliest poetry. Then can we talk about Shitupoura? Shitupoura edited my poem that won the Remembering Home competition, top quality. Then my poetry, also I Canticle of Canticles won Sugar Blog Poetry Contest in 2021. And do you know who influenced it? Amunade's Love Canticles really influenced that poetry. So poetry for me has been a beautiful journey, a pilgrimage. Like if you want to understand me, read my poetry. Basically, a lot of people write poetry to win competitions. I just write poetry because I want to connect with people. I want to meet people. I want to love people. And the only way you can know me better is reading my poem. And poetry was the magic. Like poetry was the magic. At the time I was struggling with the idea of God and poetry. So it was like, if I continue this way, it's an idolatry. So, but the thing is, God gave me poetry as a gift. God Himself said, "Oh my son, this is what you need." And poetry was like a gift from God. And poetry is the center of my happiness. Poetry is my release. Poetry, if you ask me why am I proud today, like I said, because I'm a poet. Not by billions, not by trillions. It's poetry itself. Just I am a poet gives me the joy I needed. And I don't know, it's just depend. And I wonder this poetry actually influenced the way I write too. Graciano's teaching influenced the way I write. Then most people when they meet me, they talk about my love poems. But my spoken word is people that motivated me to write do spoken word are Agarao and Vicadex. Not forgetting chemistry. They said I can do it. So basically, when I do poetry and spoken word, I do for entertainment. And I looked at what people doesn't like talking about. What people don't understand about my poetry is this. I wrote most of my poetry out of sadness. I think sadness inspired me. Yeah, depression and sadness inspired me. Melancholia. To an extent, I do know that as of now, I think sadness is beautiful. Sadness is beautiful. When I went for my service, my inspiration went from 100% to 40% because there's nothing that made me sad anymore. And I was just kind of happy. So my poetry was inspired actually by sadness. And what people don't understand about I did this spoken word because people don't talk about certain things. They are afraid of certain things. And I entered that stage and I started doing erotic poetry. And a lot of people love. Do you know that a lot of people love erotic poetry? They can't perform it, but they love it. They love it, but they can't perform it. So I started doing erotic poetry. Like I did my Supernova Casanova in 2015, 2014. I wrote my Supernova Casanova in 2014. Now what really is Supernova Casanova is people always accuse me of being a flirt. And I am not. Dude, I actually asked someone in 2014 that a flirt, a Casanova is someone that sleeps with women. And they said yes. And I said I don't sleep with women. I only appreciate them. They said no. That they always believe that there's something in me that is a flirt. And because of that, I said, okay, because they believe in this thing. I am not this thing, but I can actually talk about it through poetry. And I wrote Panova Casanova. And the audience love it because I don't know, audience love things like that. My audience really actually key into that poetry because it was not just a love. So not just an erotic poem. It was an erotic poem that actually was written skillfully. I used all the poetic skill to write it. And after I wrote this, when I saw the reception I got with Supernova Casanova, I wrote the next spoken word for which I can't joke with your press. But a lot of people connected to my Mendacious Madmen in Authority, Mendacious Madmen Authority, a political poem on government. But I discovered that a lot of poets are writing government. And I said, a poet doesn't write a erotic poem the way I will write it. And based on my belief then, which is I was close to an agnostic. So your religious belief doesn't affect me. Your religious understanding will influence me. I don't care about it. So I come on stage and I perform my Supernova Casanova and I can't go with your breast. Do you know that basically people discovered me to be an erotic poet. Which even I don't identify myself as an erotic poet. People identified me to be an erotic poet. But I just have to accept it because that's what I do. So most time when I go on stage, I do Supernova Casanova. But my poetry is my paid poem is where you see my full personality. Where you see the complete me. Where I talk about different things. Love, appreciation, people, culture, sadness, philosophy, religion. My poetry covers that. My spoken word. If you want me to perform today, I just want to come on stage and entertain my audience. And you see me perform something like, I can't joke with your breast, like testy time, so is this make you second of suck. My mouth will taste stylistically like the kill of a she-goat. This double balloon amount of milk upon your chest, this citadel of sugar are twin tower, not the one called Trade Center. I can't joke with your breast. I can hear the heartbeat of pleasure pumping through the tubes of your nipples, and people be like, wow, wow. And that is and that is not me having fun. It's passion because I told my friends then, like chemistry and poetic cadets, I told them that I am doing poetry and spoken word poetry for entertainment. But if you want to see me for who I am, read my big poem. There I record my experiences and I experience my day-to-day activities and I experience things that touch my life. And that's where my girlfriend recently told me that my poems, he said, recently told me that my poems that the message are filled and they feel the emotion. Like when someone reads my poem, they see my story, they feel it, they share it, they connect to it. That is the beauty of my poem. And recently we always appreciate. She's not a poet. She's reading industrial mathematics, and she's telling me, she's analyzing my poem to me, and I'm like, how do you do this? You see, that's what you have been seeing in my poetry, and I understand it, I connect when they say this thing because it's actually me releasing my personality, releasing my frustration, releasing my emotions, releasing my sadness, releasing my melancholy, all things, and also not forgetting releasing my belief, which is LOVE, and my poem to Zina Willowy has actually made rounds, like people actually acknowledge the poem. When I perform it with my open mic on Instagram, they do you know what they tell me? They say a poem that does a love poem that talk about everything love. And I would love to even perform that poem here. The full poem is a short poem. I would love to perform it to understand how I felt here. This poem was actually inspired by a lady that came out for me when I was nobody. A lady that stood by me when I was down. A lady that God sent to be there for me when I was nobody. And let me just quickly do a performance of it so that you understand what I'm saying. To Zina Willowy. Some lights have made this world in paradise. Some angels have also made this world of leaves. Some flowers have made this world an embellishment. Some ladies are justly called love's nourishment. Some insects beautified our sights. The mountains are high, happy, our delight. Some food are deliciously very awesome. Some love plays are perfectly wearisome. So music makes us swooning and fine. Sometimes we are inspired to dine and wine. See, now this poetry, as I said, the complete part of this poetry actually talk about love and everything beautiful about life. Love and everything beautiful about life. And I think that is why people connected to me, because I talk about the positivity, how we can achieve the best of our personality, love, respect, appreciation, picking beauty in every of our ugly situation. And I think books have actually helped me, and my frustration and my sadness actually influenced the way I write with the help of like mentors. Let me just call them mentors now. I only believe in my dad. Jesus Christ is my mentor, my dad my mentor. But let me call these guys my mentors, like people by forerunners in poetry, like Pablo Neruda, like Amun Nandi, like then I'll call my mate that really influenced me, like Agarao. Agaro's poetry really touched my mental, like somewhere in my mental health. Like Agaro's poetry really touched me, and these people influenced me, and that's how I decided to use my poetry as a message. So basically, my poetry is a message of love to the world, so that everybody actually see the great true purpose of humanity, which is love your neighbor as yourself. So my poetry is centered around love. I started an event 2021. Yeah, I started my event celebrating Nigerian servicemen for what they have been doing in the war against insurgency. I discovered that they are the real celebrity here. Celebrity, when we talk about celebrity, we talk about Nigerian individuals that have sacrificed their life, their time to protect Nigeria. I decided to appreciate them. And then we centered around me. So I had my first event with LCC, Lekki Conservative Center. I had my second event at the K-Land, abroad, close to Milan. And the next one was Port Harcourt. I took to Port Harcourt at Presidential Hotel. Then they sandwich and samurai at we appreciated Oludare Stephen as our first event. Oludare Stephen is a military personnel, a poet, a beautiful writer, a great narrator, and a beautiful storyteller. His work will still be out there. I celebrated in LCC and I celebrated Osigwe Benjamins in Bukila, the second edition. And the third edition, I celebrated Raphael, the Nigerian military personnel. And this is my own way of contributing to the society, celebrating Nigerian army. This man, Kennedy said in his that think of what you can do for the society, government, not for the government activity. And I think this is what I can do for the government. Appreciating the government personnel, government property. So the military personnel are government property. They are being used to protect the state, the society. And the military scientists, these guys are protecting the state. So I dedicated my poetry and to celebrate them. What I wanted to do in the next 5 years, I was thinking about it recently. I told myself, I want to accomplish one goal. Then I will turn most of my love poem into animation. I will turn most of my love poems into animation so that a lot of people can get connected with poetry. So through animation and poetry, children, youths, fathers, mothers can get connected to what I'm saying. So even those that don't even understand the word for it, with animation, they can see the beauty of my poem and the message and the depth of the messages. And in the next 5 years, I want to be a publisher and someone who have converted most of my poetry into animation. And the advice I have for the youth is, first of all, love and have integrity. Love and integrity. Love and integrity. When you love, you'll not be able to reach them that you not steal their work, you not plagiarize. A lot of people are plagiarizing people's work nowadays. So you not plagiarize people's work. You love them. So the next thing is integrity. And sorry I have to do this way. Believe in Jesus Christ, give your life to Christ. Give your life to Christ, believe in Jesus Christ, believe in God. And pray for everything you want to achieve. Believe in Jesus Christ, give your life to Christ, believe in Jesus Christ. Pray for everything you want to achieve. Because when you pray for confidence, you get it. Pray for love, you get it. Pray for miracles, you get it. You don't need to go to any prophet, anybody. Don't believe in yourself, because there is a God within you. The time I used to write that I have my own religions, which is basically saying that I have my own confidence, my own God, my own religion, my own lifestyle, my own Christ. So I want everyone to discover themselves. But I will tell them, discover Christ, discover Jesus. Because in my journey as a poet, the end goal of everything, I discover Christ, I discover Jesus, and I discover love. And I think these are the guardian principles and guardian, because I think guardian angels are also principles that adapt to this love in Christ, love in Christ, loving people, you will always think right, you always have good opinion. And anything you wish yourself to come to, you're not wishing bad, you're not wishing anything bad. So I advise everybody around you to have love, to have God, Christ, love, and integrity. With this, you can achieve whatever it is you can achieve.